This is the S Word with Noble Cumming.
Good evening, I'm Noble Cumming.
And I'm Mick O'Connor.
And this is the S Word, coming to you from WPIR, Pratt Radio.
Yippee.
Yippee. Kaye.
So what kind of a week did you have?
It was a busy week, but it was really great. Yesterday I got to spend some time at a local brewery called Endless Life Brewing. And
how predictable?
Yeah. It was the Rupert's Cup, which is a New York State ingredient beer celebration, celebrating all the local ingredients that you can put into beer.
Is it like the FA Cup? Is it like kind of a knockout thing? You go in there, start drinking, play against someone and knock them out, and then advance to the next round?
Everyone was shockingly still on their feet the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
A lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I just was going to duck in for an hour, meet some people, and leave, and I ended up closing the place down.
Is this the thing from the English guy that we met in Central Park?
Yes. That guy, Ricky, I believe is his name.
Ricky, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a nice bloke, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's like, I'm in town, and yeah, I went over there, and he introduced me to a bunch of people, and I gotta be honest, as far as an industry goes, beer makers are really, really doing a lot for sustainability, and they're making a phenomenal product.
You know what I couldn't believe, right?
Well,
what's the odds that in Central Park at 9 o'clock, on what day was that? Sunday?
Yes, it was Sunday
We
morning.
bump into a guy who's only here for a weekend, who does beer sustainability.
Who also is...
Who actually makes software for beer sustainability.
And
we are truly... There's something about this show, I don't know what it is, probably a touch of mange, but there's something about this show that's happening.
A double down the fact that where they were going to be in the whole beers was around the corner from our house.
This is the only show that opens up a beer and finishes with beer.
That's right. High fives to all the beer makers and beer lovers out there. We hope you're listening.
So who did you meet there? You must have met some more interesting people, because that was a kind of...
Yeah, I met Kyle Hurst. He was really great. He was from Alice Brewery. Sorry. Johnny from Night Glow. They're a newcomer up in Bushwick. A guy named Dave K.
Oh, hang on. Night Glow. He was telling us about that, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Night Glow is the beer, and Day Glow is the coffee, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're a coffee shop by day, Day Glow, and then at night they're Night Glow.
That's perfect. Like, as long as they have a toilet, you'd never leave there, right?
Yeah, it's exactly, or a bed.
Do they have?
Maybe?
I'm sure they have a toilet.
Yes, but no, they're doing great stuff. He was there with his wife, and they're from Chicago originally. And he said, "You think there are a lot of people here?" I forget. They said something like 500 some odd breweries now in New York State, maybe more. But they said there's just in Chicago alone. There's 300 just in the city of Chicago, and they said all these numbers pale in comparison to what they have in California. And it's like, wow. And so, of course, I told them I was from California, and they're like, whoa! But it was really great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, really fun time.
And the beer? Like, what kind of beer? Was the beer on tap, or were they giving it out? Or
it was on tap. They had little tastings. You could get a regular pint, or you could get a little tasting if you wanted to do the competition tasting. And so you would taste one each. It was like $4 a little tasting. And then... you put in which one you liked best, and then they picked them out at the end. So it was great, and people were very happy. I mean, the level of beer there, according to everybody, was so good that they were more than happy to award somebody else, one of their colleagues. No one was really, I'm going to win or I have the best beer. Everyone was very into.
Did they give you an award?
No. Well, they did. They actually they all gave me their contact information, and we're going to be interviewing these people, hopefully sober, over the next several months. And
what a great excuse for a radio show!
It's amazing. Yeah.
Shall we get on to the man in the street, the actual part?
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's talk about how we actually came upon this mitzvah.
Okay, ready?
Thank you. Yeah.
People out on the street.
Sorry to bother you this morning. We're doing a radio show, and we're asking people about New York City public transportation.
Okay.
Do you ever take the bus or the subway?
I usually take the train. But I don't take the bus.
Yeah. What do you think about it? Do you think the conditions or how it's doing?
I think for truth be told, I'm originally from the East Coast. I lived in Missouri for a really long time, so I think I could provide a pretty clear opinion and concise opinion. I've only lived here for a very short time, and to be honest, for what people pay, I think that people are getting harassed way too often by other people. Honestly, there's not enough law enforcement. And if I see law enforcement, it's usually intervening with things I don't think is important, like people ducking or hopping a turnstile or telling a homeless person to move. I think that's inhumane.
Oh, no, we're not from here, actually.
Oh, really? Where are you from?
We're from Pittsburgh and Philly. So.
Well, have you taken the subway or the buses here since you've gotten here?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
How do they size up against Pittsburgh and Philly's systems?
Pittsburgh doesn't have a subway, so I think
buses,
it's...
right?
We have buses. Our buses are pretty great, I feel. The subway here definitely makes things easier.
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely think the New York subways are better than the SEPTA in Philly. I just think they're better maintained, but I think they're the same vibe, if I'm being honest.
And do you ride the buses?
In Philly?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah? Are they efficient? And
I feel like they're efficient. We took them yesterday, actually.
Yeah, we did. Pittsburgh buses are pretty efficient, too. They run pretty late in the night, and I think they're quite safe as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Not so sure about New York buses. Haven't taken them yet.
Yeah. Do you think of either of those as a sustainable option for transportation?
Oh, yeah. I definitely am a strong supporter of public transportation. I think they should, try to make it as good as they can. Improve frequency, improve, connectivity.
How about making it free for bigger cities? Do you think that's something that's makes sense?
I think so. I think so. That's a viable option. It's already quite cheap, though. So.
Fare free.
Obviously,
completely taxes are gonna take this up, but so people don't have to swipe or go in.
Yeah, I think free is definitely an option. It would help a lot of people here get around a lot easier too, rather than having to walk. I think a lot of these cities aren't very walkable, so it definitely will make it easier. Yeah.
I'm not living there. I still commute in. I drive in. Obviously, I can't take the train, but I do take it. My day-to-day, just 9 to 5 working. Type deal.
Do you think it's efficient and clean? And
so I've been to London, right? Now it's not as clean as London, but I tell people all the time it's the best bang for your buck. For $3, you can go anywhere. It's not you're not charged per distance like it is in London. When I went there last year in April. With my family of 6, it was cheaper to Uber myself to a destination, believe it or not, than actually take the underground. Whereas here, $3 can get you anywhere. You could go to the northern tip of Brooklyn, to the east end of Brooklyn. Northern tip of the Bronx to the east end of Brooklyn.
And you get a transfer in the buses too, right?
100%. Yeah. Now, is it the cleanest? No. But as far as the best bang for your buck and efficiency, these trains run 24/7. There is no time period it stops. At any time of the day, you could be leaving the pub, the bar, 3 in the morning, you got a train. You might have to wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but you got a train. Now, to caveat that, are there a lot more homeless people, mentally unwell people? Yes. You do have to sometimes navigate that, but if you're a savvy New Yorker, you know where to stand, like where the conductor is. You get on the car with the conductor, that's the safest spot. You could always tell them, hey, look, somebody's getting crazy in a train. They can radio it in.
They say there's going to be 3 conductors now? Did you hear that?
I didn't hear about that. As far as since I grew up in the city and since I've been working here, it's been an operator, train operator, the guy at the front, motorman, and then the conductor, the person that makes sure the doors open safely, close safely. That's the safest spot in the whole transit. They can keep the door closed. Hey, everybody get to this train car. Close the doors, wait for police.
I think it's a very good means of transportation in the city. I'm a big favor of public transportation. But I do understand that it's very difficult for the MTA, for New York, to raise funds in order to maintain some of the stations cleaner and or safer. And that being said, when I say safer and cleaner, that could be the station itself or the trains, the tube itself. Because I do understand that they just raised the fares I think a year ago, and I think a lot of people were unhappy about it. So it's really difficult for them to raise money. So it's just like, it is what it is, I guess.
Do you ever take the New York City buses?
I do, yes.
What do you think of those?
And I do think, I always recommend my girlfriend to take the buses, especially at night, because there are people, there's a driver. It kind of feels that it's safer. You can practically like open a door, like if it's something that happens, she can just like open a door and kind of leave. And there's usually people in the subway, in the buses. So I recommend her taking the buses over the subway, especially during the night.
Are you originally from New York? No. Where are you from originally?
Venezuela.
Okay.
And she's from Brazil.
You're from Caracas?
Caracas.
Okay. Does Caracas have a public transport system?
Yes, we do. We do have, and in the 80s and 90s, it was the best train system in the whole LATAM. And then for different governmental decisions and lack of funding, it is now the worst and the most unsafe train system in LATAM, or in around the world, I guess.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But in Brazil, what do you got?
We do have it. It's very unsafe as well. It's very hard to go around.
Sorry, what city are you
I'm from São Paulo.
Okay.
And it's not really as in New York, where it goes everywhere. You can get everywhere with the train. It's not that good. They started trying to build a new train to get you everywhere, but they never did it.
And what do you think of New York's system? I know you ride the buses, but
yeah,
in comparison,
I do like it. It's good. I think it's amazing that we can get anywhere, and it's really fast. But I do not feel safe. For example, during the night, I would never grab a train during the night by myself, only if I'm with him. So I usually use taxis or Ubers during the nighttime. I'll only do it during the daytime.
I am big on at least getting my carbon footprint down on a yearly basis, so that's why I'm huge on public transportation. And even riding bikes, I think bikes here is, in my perspective, the best means of transportation that you can take, because you can get anywhere very easily. So yeah, that's why I'm big on public transportation, because I try to keep my carbon footprint to the lowest.
I prioritize safety over anything. So if I don't feel safe at night, I would rather grab a car and feel safe than going into a subway where I don't feel good.
I don't drive, so that's one of the biggest reasons why I live here, so I can take public transport. I love it.
Do you think you drive if you live somewhere else, or do you think you try to avoid it?
I hit things when I drive.
Yeah. I hit things when I walk. So.
I actually moved away. I used to live here, but not recently.
Oh, no kidding.
But I used to use it all the time.
And what do you think of it?
I love the TAP system. That's new since I've been gone. Yeah. I feel like I live in Philly now, and compared to the Philly system, it's so much better. So
really, in what way?
I mean, they have more buses, but for Philly, it's like a couple main lines, you'll wait 10 minutes. So I feel like coming back here, it's refreshing to not have to wait as long.
Have you ridden the buses here?
Not like on my visits. I did occasionally when I lived here.
So we're just asking people what they think of the New York City subway system.
Okay, I'm a transplant. And I think I'm probably a lot more satisfied with it than natives.
Okay.
Because if they've been anywhere else, they have to know that this system anywhere else in the country would be filthy. It doesn't always run on time, but given the age of the system, I think they do a great job.
And when you're comparing it, where are you comparing it to?
I'm from California, so if we were to institute, we have a very small little bit of rail that we introduced, and it is absolutely filthy all the time. Nobody ever wants to ride it because it's disgusting.
Is this San Francisco or?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
And here, they're mostly clean most of the time.
Do you ever ride the bus system here?
I do. Not often, because if it's far enough to take a bus, I'll take a train. Or if it's not far enough for a train, I walk. Okay. I love the city for that. We do about 10 miles a day.
If the system was free, the buses and the subways, would you ride it more?
No. I don't think people appreciate things that are just. given to them. I think that there should be accommodations for people that meet income requirements, but just making it free is silly because we have to pay for it somehow. So it's either taxes or fares or a combination of both.
Right, but the argument is obviously in a finite space like New York City, the less cars there are, okay, the less government has to do insofar as road upkeep, policing, etc., and that cities that have tried free transport, it's not necessarily to save people money, it's more to do with the efficiency of running a city, you know.
New York has not yet demonstrated that they can make good choices about running the city efficiently. If they demonstrate that first, then great, make it free. But I don't trust them to use the money in a responsible manner.
Do you think of public transportation as a sustainable option?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. It's one of the things that I love the most about moving here from California. And the thing is, I love to drive. I still have a car here in the city, and I won't give it up. But it is a much more sustainable option, much more convenient option than pulling my car out every time I want to go to the market.
Yes. No, we don't have. Just bus. Not like subway in Belgium.
And do people ride the buses in Belgium?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do that. But mostly they have a car.
Okay.
So have you ridden the buses here?
Huh?
Have you ridden the buses here?
Here, yes.
Do you like them?
Yeah.
Me, everything is free is not good. They make some people lazy. Don't give them free. Let them work hard to do something. If you get it free. How you want to work? How you want to build it in the city? No, don't give the people free. Let them work, do something. Free is not good. Free one time is fine, but all the time free is not good. Let the people work.
Let them know their first ride free.
Exactly, first ride free. And say, okay, this week is free, but the rest of the week you have to pay is fine. But all the time free, not good.
What town in Burkina Faso?
In the city, Ouagadougou.
And in Ouagadougou?
Yeah.
Do you have public transport there? Is there trains or buses?
No, we have a bus, but it's not free.
Okay. And do people use the bus?
Yeah, they use the bus. The people don't have over there. The people ride the motorcycle.
Okay.
If you don't have the motorcycle, you can ride the bus.
Okay.
So that's almost same thing here. If you have a car, you can go with your car somewhere you want it. You don't need the metro. You can go with it.
And how much is the bus there?
You can pay for miles, like same thing like
right.
here, and you can pay for a day. You know.
And can you pay with your phone?
Before now, but now it's maybe yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's efficient and clean and safe.
Yeah, it's good, clean. Yeah. Very good, nice and clean.
Sucks.
In what way?
Unreliable. It's dirty. Now you charge me $2.95 per ride. I mean, it's better ways to spend $2.95 than going on a cramped train or cramped bus that's not going to arrive on time.
I'm from the UK, so
I'm
actually first time here.
Whereabouts?
Sustainability is big in the brewing industry, which I work in.
I was going to say, you're in the Brewers Guild. Where are you going?
So I'm just, I've got the morning off, so I thought I'd come to Central Park. And where am I going? I'm going to Endless Life Brewing Co. For the Rupert's Cup.
For the what?
Rupert's Cup.
What's that?
So all the brewers submit beers for awards, and you get to try all of their beers. And I think you guys actually get to vote on them if you're drinking them. So
Where is this? Clear my schedule.
So Brooklyn, Endless Life Brewing Co. I used to brew in Cornwall, though, in the UK.
Okay.
And so
wow.
So we're called Brew with 2 W's. We're a software company. So
specifically for
breweries, yeah.
Okay.
So we help breweries to be more sustainable. You know, we integrate with a company called Zavero. We open source our software so that, you know, net zero companies can it can help track their, you know, sustainability and carbon footprint and things like that.
Like the MTA?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. When the elevators work.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? I mean, obviously for you to use it, is it harder than, let's say, another transportation system?
Not if the elevators work.
Okay.
Are you a New Yorker originally?
Okay. I'm from the Netherlands, but I've been here for 13 years.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do things size up here compared to there?
I mean, the trams are they're overground there.
Yeah.
And here, I mean, they're mostly underground. Elevators are a factor. But if they work, it's completely fine. There's no issue. Just on the platform, I have to usually risk my life to get to the elevator because there's like these pillars on each side. You should check it out. No, it's like you have to go on the side over the yellow line.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
To get round. Yeah.
Yes, to get to the elevator. It's wild.
Yeah.
Check it out if you're there. It's like, people usually think I'm trying to commit suicide.
It's kind of the thing that I wouldn't think of, you know what I mean? But I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've got to go around that thing to get to the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how about the buses? Do you ever use the buses?
I did, but they are forced to strap you in. Yeah, it's I don't like that part. There's a lot of liability, and people get sued left and right in America.
What do you think of that?
Wow, that was really impressive. I just remember a lot of those conversations and some of the really wonderful people we met through our travels there on Sunday. Big shout out to the NYPD too for taking time to have a chat with us, which was kind of nice because they see the subway all day. If you're a transit cop, you're in there all the time, and there's nothing wrong with trying to figure out what they think. They probably would, at least the guy who answered it, he probably enjoyed the moment just to talk freely.
Well, that guy was very forthcoming, and then the other guy didn't really want to.
He didn't want to.
I can understand
it's
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
But I did get some solid numbers about things about the public transportation in America. According to the UCLA, it's estimated public transportation in the U.S. saves about 37 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. And we usually think of gas as the only pollutant when it comes to cars, but they use antifreeze and other fluids that are bad for the environment. And also, more cars mean more roads need to be built, which causes water runoff that contributes to ground and water pollution. So, and according to the NYLCV, that's the New York League of Conservation Voters, they said over 30% of greenhouse gas emissions in New York come from the transportation sector. And the pandemic actually changed the way we think about public transportation, given that it's often overcrowded, underventilated, and cramped.
We lost our car in the New York City flood. You know that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a weird story, right?
Remember, yeah, that could be one of your rants, but,
No, but it's not. It's not. It could be, but it's definitely worth a rant.
Yeah.
But it's indicative of, I guess, what's happening as far as the weather and
and
taking its revenge on cars or something.
Cars, yeah, and the MTA themselves, they said 700,000 cars are kept off of New York City's central business district daily with the use of public transportation, and over 400 million fewer pounds of soot, carbon monoxide, hydrocarbons, and other toxic substances are released each year into the city's air. So that's 400 million fewer pounds. And
see, that's what I was getting at about the free public transport,
Yeah, it's so much better. In fact, one of the things they said is also it encourages people to walk more, exercise more when there's better air, when there's more availability for people to get around with ways without cars. So people actually become encouraged in multiple different ways to have healthier lifestyles. And you can still eat a nasty hot dog or something, really bad for yourself, or have a good pint of beer.
This is all dependent, though, of course, on the train actually turning up, right? Which
yes,
it took 35 minutes for it to turn up.
Yeah, we had our own little debacle trying to get around. We ended up having to switch trains, walk through neighborhoods, and to get back. And that was
it's almost like you have to bring a car just in case the train's too late.
Yeah, it's just like little backpack cars or something. Maybe that's the whole point of the e-scooter now. We just carry a little e-scooter on.
You got any more stats there for us? Or?
Let me see. We run the largest green fleet in the world with a combined total of more than 2,000 hybrid electric and compressed natural gas buses as well. And even the MTA is doing a lot of stuff to try to make the physical plant more sustainable, and the materials that they use and the contractors that they work with. It's important to know that the MTA is a city-state partnership. So a lot of times when people think it's the fault of the city, it may actually be the fault of the state. And when people think it's the fault of the state, it may actually be the fault of the city. Just sometimes worth evaluating and going back and looking up to see who's actually responsible for that part. Unfortunately, the MTA is an old, archaic system, and they have a lot of work to do. But
well, I think the MTA has been the historical hockey puck, hasn't it?
What is a hockey
between the state and New York City, insofar as funding and like blame and who does what.
But at the end of the day, without a public transportation system like this, New York would not be what it is. And the police officer said one of the best things I think I had heard the whole day about this public transportation system. And I actually went home and had a conversation with my wife about it. And that's that the zone issue, if you get on a New York City bus or you get on a train, you can just take the train from the top of the Bronx to the end of Coney Island. You can take it, and you don't have to change trains. You might have to change trains, but you don't have to get a new fare. You don't have to buy a new ticket or anything like that. And other cities all over the world have zones, which keeps poor people stuck in certain places. Wealthy people are able to travel more, and it really creates a burden on people who don't deserve it.
Yeah, and London has that system too, as we were discussing with that guy, and it's quite prohibitive, right? So if you're in zone, I don't know, I think there's 6 zones now, right? 5, and you want to go into central London, you have to go through all the zones, right?
Yeah.
So you pay basically an incremental scale up the zone, in and out. So if you're working in some kind of service industry in London, right, you're kind of penalised because you've got to live out, it's like here, right?
Yeah.
You've got to live out further out from the city to get a lower rent, and then the people obviously, just statistically are earning less, so they kind of get punished almost, So the New York City system is good for that.
Fairly egalitarian.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad things to be said about it. But in general,
maybe
it kind of gets us where we need to go, doesn't
maybe
it?
This is what happens when you give things to everybody. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of go ahead with a little bit lower standard than you'd otherwise want.
Oh, I don't know about that. Actually, we should do another program on this and actually do some good research, because there was an English bloke, right? Remember, he was running the I think it was under Bloomberg. He was trying to make changes there.
He was trying to really help.
There was a whole political thing that went on there, insofar as he was basically ousted out of there, I think. Yeah. I can't remember the guy's name, for the love of God.
I think Cuomo kicked him out.
Was it?
I think Cuomo brought him in and kicked him out really fast. Yeah.
And we went back to what we had, I guess. It reminds me, actually, round about the time that David Dinkins was mayor. The only thing that's missing is the graffiti, Okay, so we'll come back. We'll definitely come back to that, because that's a great subject,
That's great.
But what else? Where are we going now? I think we're going to go on to the interview of the week.
Oh, yeah.
So I had the great fortune to sit down with Ellisa Olin this week. She is the proprietor of Green in Brooklyn at 432 Myrtle. A sustainable store that sells all types of things that we're going to learn about in this part 1 of the interview that I did with her, which is the kind of main bulk of the interview. And why don't we take a listen?
The interview.
We just got to do it.
Of the week.
What got you interested in sustainability enough to open your store? And what makes you a sustainability-oriented business?
That's a long question. I mean, in a long answer. Originally, the reason I opened the store is the work that I was doing went so far against my basic core, and I wasn't making any money as well. And so I took out a notebook that my sister had given me and just started writing down everything I could do instead of what I was doing. And retail store kept coming up. At the time, I was working on being more sustainable in a conscious way, though I'd grown up that way with my mother. And I was finding it very hard to do so in my neighborhood and also in the stores in and around the city. And that's sort of what inspired me to look into a retail store that focused on sustainability. That's the short version. What makes my store sustainable? Every decision I make to bring in any kind of product is based on if it has an aspect of sustainability about it. And that can be a wide range of things for us, organic or natural materials, fair trade items, recycled, recyclable, biodegradable, compostable, especially if it's in a product that usually isn't, vintage, and as a community business, local artists and local makers. That's the short answer.
Absolutely perfect. What changes have you seen in your customer base over the last decade or two since you opened? E.g., what's different about them now compared to when you started?
What's different about my customers since when I started? I have to say probably the clearest thing is that more people are coming in and making sustainable choices, whether that's their focus or not. I've always intended the store to be a place that was not just focused on a customer who was pursuing sustainable options, but making it easier and more convenient for people to be sustainable, whether that was their focus or not. So in the beginning, when I first opened, I was probably one of the first retail/gift stores on the avenues. So basically anyone who wanted anything came in. Our community has definitely changed. A lot of the old timers have passed. A lot of the original loyal folks left during COVID. So what I'm finding specifically now, as the spring comes and the winter's ending, a lot more folks who are new to the neighborhood, and also a lot of folks who have lived in the neighborhood for a long time who never came into the store before. So there's this fresh face, new face happening, unfortunately, because so many people who started out with us 15 years ago are no longer here.
Who or what inspires you currently in the sustainability-focused market?
Who or what inspires me currently in the sustainability-focused market?
Yes, correct.
I'm assuming you're looking for a maker or product or Al Gore, but I gotta say my customers. Just finding a way to inspire people, again, whether they're consciously looking for sustainable options or not, but I'm continually looking for ways to inspire people to see sustainability as something that is day-to-day, easy, interesting, fun, and useful.
Do you get feedback from
Do I get
customers?
feedback?
Do they say kind of like, well, here's a great product that I think would fit great in your store?
We're in Brooklyn. Everybody tells me their opinion. Yes, absolutely. When I first opened, I started with the products that I considered important in my day-to-day living, and then sort of tried to expand on that. I didn't have a child, but if someone had a child, what would they want? If people had pets, if they were older, if they were younger. I tried to sort of fill in the blanks around what I thought were the essentials, but I have probably added inventory, at least half of my inventory, based on people's suggestions or requests or commands.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a two-way street.
I feel very much like, that this store is a collaborative effort. When I opened, I really wanted to be part of my community. I wanted to serve my community. To go back to why I opened, I was living in Bed-Stuy where there was less than and not as many resources for sustainability, let alone anything else. And I was working in industries that had an excess of resources, and we were throwing them out. I was working in event planning and commercials, and we were working with big budgets, and we were throwing out massive amounts of stuff. So when I started planning on opening the store, I wanted it to be in my community. I wanted to serve my neighborhood, my neighbors, and I wanted to be interactive. we have a very active business improvement district on Myrtle Avenue, and that was also significant in me selecting this location to be here. I want to be part of my community. I want my community to be part of our decisions and activities.
What or who frustrates you?
What or who frustrates me? My Lord. Having been in business for 15 years, I probably started out more frustrated by more people or who's or what's than I am now. I feel like as a business owner and as somebody in sustainability, in order to mentally and psychically survive, there's a certain amount of letting go that has to happen. I opened with the intention of making it easy for, again, as I said, people who are not necessarily looking for sustainable options, but who would be interested in the options we have that are sustainable. And so I never wanted to tell somebody how to live their life or how to make their decisions. I feel like everybody has different levels of resources, whether that's financial, time, mental. We all have limitations. And not everybody can live without a footprint, and not everybody can afford all the choices. So my intention has always been to make it available, to make it possible. And so to say that somebody who doesn't make a sustainable choice frustrates me, yes, absolutely. I think we can all individually do more. But for my mental health, I have to let go of making decisions for other people and offer opportunities for decision making.
How does someone, let's say, that can't afford to shop here, let's say, how do they affect sustainability? Change the climate. Like making an effort themselves to.
Well, that's why I keep going back to making it convenient, easy, available. When I first was putting together my business plan, my mentor said to me, "But I don't care about sustainability. Why should I come in your store?" And I said, "But it's for people who do care." Right. And he said, "No, you want to have everybody come in so that your store sustains itself." I think that every little bit helps, and I think that it's probably possible that none of our efforts in the end are going to make a difference. Yes, I can change out my paper towels for, Swedish dishcloths. Yes, I can use any of the products that we have or other people have, but in the end, is the ozone going to repair itself? Not unless there are bigger changes and bigger decisions made, but I think that if you don't make any decision or any change, there definitely will not be improvement. And so you have a choice. You do nothing or you do something. And I think that a lot of little people can make a lot of little changes that will together make a bigger change. But I also think it's vitally important and essential that bigger changes are made by bigger entities. And specifically, I mean corporations and governments. Because without them, we will not be able to make a change that's going to sustain.
But like you're saying, that's why this kind of thing is important, right? Because at least people can start thinking along those lines, right? So whether it's an introduction or it makes them feel better or a token thing, a drop in the ocean, let's say, it's still important to have it on people's minds so that when they vote, I guess.
Well, and also, I think that's absolutely right. It is important to be visible. For sustainable products and practices to be visible, to have the discussion be heard, to be open to it. Absolutely. Without seeing or hearing, you don't know what's possible. And just as I said earlier, that my customers have helped put products into my store with their opinions, their suggestions, their own research. The more information and the more visible sustainability and sustainable options are, the more conscious people are going to be. I've had people who came in who didn't really have an awareness or an understanding, and we'd get into a conversation and there'd be an easy solution. Sure, I can use this product because it's just like my other one, but it biodegrades, right? We have cellulose sponges, just like the old sponges, but not plastic, so they will biodegrade. Easy to make the change. The good thing about sustainable products is a lot of them are more concentrated. So although they cost more, they last longer. So there's that level of understanding and education that also comes along with it. But I think without some small change, no big changes are going to happen. And one of the driving forces for me when I opened, as I had said, I was working in two industries that had an excess of resources. The demographic had not necessarily unlimited money, but we could say close to unlimited money for commercials and for large events. And we would spend all this money and time on these events, and we would throw out all these products. And it just broke my heart, and it was breaking my spirit, literally, I felt. On top of that, I went to college. I went to Antioch College in Ohio, and Horace Mann, who founded the college, also left us with the words, "Be ashamed to die until you've won some small victory for humanity," some victory for humanity. And I consider mine some small victory for my community. And I just felt like I wasn't doing that. And I just wasn't doing anything that was making the world better. And I was serving a demographic that didn't need my assistance. And I was wasting all these products and resources. And I wasn't making any money either. So I hadn't even sold out, you know. And so I feel like it's important to do what you can. And I think it's also important not to be shamed for not being able to do more because you have, 3 jobs you're holding down and no time, or 3 kids and no money, or whatever it is that limits what you can or can't do. Any small difference is going to make a difference. But without the corporations and the governments, I think we're lost.
Have you ever had to discontinue carrying a product because the manufacturer was greenwashing?
Yes. I specifically had, because I'm assuming you'd like an example, but I had a candle company that said that they were soy candles and they used fragrances, but people were liking the fragrances and they smelled sort of inert. The more I pushed and searched and looked, I found out that they also had paraffin in it, which is like the exact opposite of soy. It's actually carcinogenic, which is not really an eco-friendly option.
You sell eco products. How else do you run your business in an eco-friendly manner?
A lot of it is second nature, so I don't really think about it. But if you look around, and I know your listening audience can't, but when I went to build out the store, it was formerly it was a doctor's office with fabulous pink linoleum and pink linoleum on the walls and a drop ceiling with something that I was sure was going to be asbestos, which wasn't. But when we did the build out, the intention was to use as little newfound product as possible. And I worked with a contractor who really embraced that. And so a lot of the materials that we used that appeared new were actually left over from jobs that they had done before. A lot of display is from businesses that have closed or moved. And a lot of our other stuff is vintage. Even our chocolate case, I didn't want to bring in the chocolates until I could get a used case. I didn't want to buy a new one. So if you look around, there's very little that was purchased new for display or purchased new for building out the shop. So that's one of the primary things. We use eco-friendly products to clean. We carry eco-friendly products, so we use what we have. The city requires, but even before they required it, we recycle. I'm pretty adamant about that. I'm on a group called Buy Nothing, which shares and people share and receive items back and forth for free, not in barter, not in purchasing, not in exchanging. And so I'm always posting the boxes and the packing materials that bring our products in. And blessedly, many, many, many people are looking for those things at different times. So we usually end up repurposing with Buy Nothing folks our boxes and our packing peanuts and paper. I bring in as little plastic as possible. In the beginning, there were more plastic containers that I carried in, but so many more of my vendors are working with more glass or less plastic or alternatives. And so if you look around, that's also limited. What plastic we do have, much of it we are working with our refill station vendors, and we return the inserts, the plastic bag inserts, to TerraCycle, who then recycles them. I'm sure there's other things. I'm also always talking to people about what they can do. Like if you buy a candle, there's this great container that you use when you're done. I have 6 water glasses from a series of candles that we had carried. I don't know. There's probably more ways too.
What would you do with your business and resources if you could, but currently can't? What are you unable to address that you wish your business could?
That one's easy for me. I would do more recycling for the community. I would be more of a recycling center. That's hard for a small business to do. It takes financial resources. It takes resources of space. It takes resources of time and resources of staff. And so that's really hard to do while running a retail store as well. Years ago, there was another company. When I first came up with the idea, I thought I was the first one to ever think of a sustainable store, but shockingly, I wasn't. And by shockingly, I'm being very facetious. There were a few. There were 2 in one in Brooklyn and one in Manhattan. And the one in Brooklyn, I went there to talk to them, and they said, don't take in recycling. And I'm like, what? Why not? That seems like a great idea. And they're like, well, we're doing it. But we have people who come from the Bronx to drop off 10 pounds of batteries and then don't purchase anything. And then we have to pay the money to have those batteries shipped. And they had this whole section that was filled with recycling that they couldn't put product in. And they were also a small store like mine. And I thought that was very honest of them and very, it was just honest and helpful. But if I could do that, it would be so lovely.
What are the goals of your business that aren't apparent to the customer?
To stay open. So again, back to when I was doing my business plan, I wish I could remember what business it was that said the following. I really want to give them credit. But I was looking at manifestos and of different businesses. And this was a sustainable business. I can't remember what they did, but they wrote this long list of what they wanted to do, what their goals were. We're going to save the whales and feed the children and house the homeless. And the final thing was, but first, we're going to make enough money to sustain our business so we can stay open and continue to do this. So I had a friend of mine opened her business a year after mine. We had been close before we started it. And so we spent a lot of time talking about our businesses. And she opened the year after. And I remember saying to her, there's going to be a lot of decisions you have to make about where to put your resources. Be sure you're putting them back into the bank so you can pay your bills and stay open. You can't, unfortunately, for instance, have recycling for all the products you want to and necessarily stay open, to go back to the example you had. So the bottom line for any small business is you have to stay open in order to do anything else that you do.
Very good. And I think that kind of answers the next one. What advice would you give to someone starting out with a sustainability-focused business?
Do your research. You know, you thought I would say stay open and make sure you have a bottom line, but before you even open, you have to have your research done and know what your intention is, who your demographic is, will it sustain itself in the area where you're looking to do so, and if this is honestly indeed what you want to do. You know, I in just answering that, I had all these things flash through my mind, but I had a friend who said to me, oh, I would love to have a store like yours, and we have a little like makers area in the back, and we just come out and talk to people, and then we go back and make things. And I said, if you just want to make things. Don't pay rent for a store. Pay for a studio. Come over to my shop and talk to people. Like, figure out what it is you really want to do, and figure out if this is what you want to do, because honestly, retail is like, I've never been married to or raised anything as needy as a retail store. And I mean that in the best and the worst ways. It really is your life. So make sure it's what you want to do, and make sure it's your sustainable business is sustainable. I say write a business plan.
What's your one unsustainable guilty pleasure?
I color my hair.
It's fair enough, isn't it? It's a minor one. What local laws or regulations make it harder for you to meet your goals?
That's a loaded question. I gotta say, I feel like talking to the other retail stores and small businesses, or as I call them, businesses with doors, I feel like New York City has all these wonderful opportunities to help support small businesses in opening, but there are so many requirements after opening that cause it to be a challenge to remain opening. If you're a small store making a very small income, it's hard to maintain a high ticket if you put something out on the street at the wrong time, or someone else puts something in your trash can after you put it out that they think you put in, and then you get charged and you can't afford it. I mean, it's just kind of crazy how the city is continually looking to get income through small businesses that don't have income. And I know that, honestly, I'm going to knock on wood right now. Excuse me. I haven't been, knock on wood again. But I know of so many businesses that have had fines that have been outrageous. $5,000, that's for some people, that's, for many people, that's their month, or at least a week of income, or 2 weeks, or, or more. And if you're charging someone $5,000 for a fine, rather than asking them to repair the issue, you might put a business out of business. So I think there really needs to be a better understanding of how close to the bone so many small businesses are. There's so many regulations that it's kind of impossible to stay on top of them all or know them all, and you can get fined for something you never knew existed. So I'm going to say that the city just really has to have a better understanding of small businesses, their financial limitations, and find a way to make it easier to repair any indiscretion rather than to fine in a way that will ultimately close a business. Because our small businesses are what make our community, right?
Absolutely. That was a great interview.
Yeah, really some really wonderful answers to some great questions. I wonder who wrote those questions.
You did a great job writing those questions.
Thank you.
And it was really interesting to see Elisa answer them. And she's a woman of great conviction, I think.
Yeah, and it was really good to see her be willing to talk about the road not being so smooth. It's not all rainbows and unicorns, and she was very clear about that. And you're still running a business, at the end of the day, and it's hard for people to remember that, and so great to her. I hope she's listening tonight. Thank you so much for the interview. I'm pretty sure
she is, yeah. It's
wonderful.
She was excited for this interview. I'm excited for her shop, which is Green in Brooklyn at 432 Myrtle. There will be a part 2 to this, because we did have a little walk around her store, a kind of audio shopping experience, and we'll do that on another day in a part 2. But again, thanks very much to Elisa for taking the time. And now it's time for sustainability in the news.
In the news, okay.
Let me play the ident, and then
sustainability in the news.
All right, here we go. I got some two big ones today. Pratt, our very own Pratt. You're on WPIR Pratt Radio. Pratt's Aqua Study Project receives $5 million NSF award. That's the National Science Foundation, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the initialism. A team of chemists, designers, and researchers led by Pratt Institute, which recently received $5 million cooperative agreement from the National Science Foundation. Team is developing seaweed-based hydrogels that balance soil moisture, allow crops to withstand droughts between irregular rainfalls, and reduce the need for irrigation. It can be formed into an anti-erosion net or other shapes depending on specific soil and crop needs. This should help farmers in climate-impacted regions preserve water resources, regenerate soil health, and increase crop yields. It was initiated in Pratt in 2021 as a solution to be used for food packaging. Those interior and communications design students, listen in. Cindy Kellett, professor of chemistry, is acting as principal investigator of the project, as with Helio Taikai, dean of the School of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and Carol M. Merlach, professor of industrial design, are acting as co-principal investigators. So great work, Pratt. There's another $5 million to helping the world through sustainable endeavors, and we're all doing it together. This is great. Second one, another big story here in the news locally. Green Economy Action Plan. The mayor unveiled the first of its kind plan that lays out a roadmap for growing the city's green economy. The plan invests in jobs and sectors that will help the city combat climate change, train and position New Yorkers, particularly those from environmentally disadvantaged communities, to benefit from nearly 400,000 projected green-collar jobs in New York by 2040.
Hang on a minute. Who's that? Adams?
Yeah. Just came up. Yeah. Just happened. They just unveiled this plan, and I know that some of my colleagues are going to be working on this project. NYC.
So didn't he just cut a load of things out? Didn't he just? Didn't he just like cut half the school budget?
Yeah, but this is sustainability. Kids don't need to go to school; they can just go and get a green job.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
It's going well.
No, a lot of this is using federal incentives to try to use. So the Inflation Reduction Act, they're trying to mobilize it and put it into. Some of that is earmarked for very specific uses, and they're just filtering it into spots to get public-private partnerships on board. So they're basically trying to do incentives to get them working on other things.
So is this like a press release, or is he actually doing something?
This is a press release, and he's basically talking about some things that are already going on. I know it's Mayor Adams. I get it.
Forgive me for being so cynical.
You are being actually quite cynical. This is good news.
Well, listen, if you do something well.
I mean, they're actually talking about the Governor's Island initiative, which is honestly already part of, is already happening thanks to Pratt again. It's two Pratt things in the news. The Navy Yards that Pratt actually has a big hand in is also part of this collaboration. So it looks like, there's going to be a big, heavy Pratt footprint in green jobs in the city moving forward.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Should we do the weather?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for the weather.
Oh. This week the weather's coming from Burkina Faso.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it coming from Burkina Faso?
Because our friend, what was his name? Adam, at the at Central Park was from Burkina Faso.
Would you call him a jockey, or would you? No, he's got a horse.
He's a carriage driver.
Yeah, carriage driver. There you go.
That's right. It's not a jockey.
I was searching for the word.
Too big for a jockey. Those guys are tiny.
Speaking of words, my encroaching dyslexia is probably going to make me pronounce this wrong. My son's going to have a go at me if he hears this.
Okay, go for it.
But the capital of Burkina Faso is Ouagadougou.
Okay.
Did I get that right?
I think that sounded about right. But
so tomorrow in Ouagadougou, if you're on public transport, it's going to be 106 degrees. Yes, 106 degrees. Humidity is going to be 9%. The UV index is going to be extreme. Sunrise will be at 6:19, and then sunset will be at 6:15. It's pretty normal.
Wow.
That's about it.
That's
it's really hot, isn't it?
fucking degrees.
106 degrees. What?
Jesus.
That's like Vegas weather.
Maybe Vegas. Oh, I don't know.
Right?
I haven't been to Vegas in years, but yes.
Right, so we're getting close to the end, right? So, what do we think of the show this week? It was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a lot of content that we packed into a tiny hour here, and we had a lot of adventures. We actually packed a lot of our adventures into a tiny day.
Yeah.
Like we push a lot of stuff.
Like SpongeBob.
Yeah, exactly.
And what did we learn?
I learned about the Rupert Cup.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is not a cup for Ruperts, is it?
It's a cup. It looks like, I asked them if they drink out of it like the Stanley Cup.
It's a cup for drinkers.
Yeah, no, it's a big...
cup for beer.
Anyways, it's a big brewing utility thing. But anyways...
Does the winner actually get a cup?
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Really?
It's like, and they carve your name on the side of it.
Right, and they make you drink out of it.
I wish they would. But anyways...
Sounds good.
But big thanks to everyone there, and really Kyle Hurst from Big Alice Brewery. Thank you so much for kind of introducing me to everybody, and thank you to Ricky from Brew, I think was it called. Thank you. You're not going to hear, this isn't The Last of Us. You're going to hear from us a lot in the future. We're really happy to see not just sustainable by the numbers, but really doing what's good for the local economy and really trying to be there for people.
Brewers of the world,
really
respect our call.
Exactly.
I want to shout out to With Clues, because I noticed on one of those Facebook groupie things that they had their kind of stroller slash
bike
trailer thing stolen this week. So to the person that stole it, please return it, unless I will have to come around and I don't know, tell my mum about it.
We walk the streets at night in Bed-Stuy, Mick and I do. We might run across you.
And I have a thought to leave you with that came from Elisa. And I like this saying. As anybody that knows me, I like my sayings. And she had this quote from Horace Mann, who founded Antioch College. And he said, again, I will repeat, "Be ashamed to die until you've won some small victory for humanity." And with that thought, we shall go down the pub, probably.
Yes, sir. Let's go have a pint.
I think it's a wrap, isn't it?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.